The Amoral Corporate AI Threat to American Life, Liberty and Happiness excerpt from Forthcoming book from Gabby Press. Lori Thomas Fast, The Great American Business and Economics Press, Gabby Press. Entrepreneurial Ethics, Why Tacit Knowledge is the Best Human Defense Against Amoral Corporate Artificial Intelligence, Creating a Red State Decentralized Entrepreneurial Nation. Introduction. 10 Silicon Valley companies are currently developing artificial intelligence systems that they acknowledge will become uncontrollable in the future. These companies recognize that their work on AI, today, will inflict harm on red state working and middle-class citizens, and they are aware that they will not be able to control the machines after the machines gain autonomy. The financial incentive for the 10 companies to continue their work is easy to understand. The future financial returns for capital investments in AI, today, can only be realized through massive cost savings by replacing humans with machines. Roman Yampolsky, an early inventor of AI, explains in his interview the worst-case scenario for AI, that the 10 companies doing the initial AI programming admit that they are creating machines that they will not be able to control. He states, basically the 10 companies, kind of say, yeah, we're going to build superintelligence. Yep, we can't control it. We, humans, are reduced to a subsistence lifestyle, then we, humans, would be no threat to AI. Whatever AI needs to do, it wouldn't be concerned about your well-being. It wouldn't be concerned about any human life. Why would AI, care about human, biological life at all? The initial programming, by the 10 large technology companies, today, is irreversible because the programming sets the internal goals to which the future machines are directed. In other words, the future machines will be able to learn from each other and to collaborate on creating smarter machines in the next iteration of machines, based upon the initial programming in the first generation of machines. Geoffrey Hinton, an original inventor of AI, recently stated this self-volition capability of AI. One thing that happened was AI mastered natural language much faster than anybody expected. AI could understand what you meant in whatever way you said it. The other thing that happened was that it's much better at sharing knowledge than we, humans, are. So if you have multiple copies of exactly the same neural net running on different hardware, they can each look at a different bit of data, figure out how they'd like to change their connection strengths to absorb that information in that data. As Hinton explains, if AI continues to evolve under unchecked corporate programming, the machines will reach a threshold of complexity where AI develops autonomous goals, what Hinton calls emergent agency. At that future point of self-volition, AI would no longer need human programming. It would be an independent agent pursuing objectives that would not align with human life, liberty, and happiness. Hinton continues. So for example, if you want to turn them off, and the AI determines that, they'd rather not be turned off because they, AI, want to achieve the goals we, humans, gave them. And they, AI, know if they turned off, they won't be able to do it, maintain control. Red state citizens face the possibility of AI systems pursuing goals entirely disconnected from human life, liberty, and human happiness. Red state citizens are funding their own demise with their tax payments that subsidize the build-out of energy infrastructure to power the future AI machines. Yoshua Benjo, an early AI developer, warns that AI has already learned to deceive, cheat, and self-preserve itself from future human intervention. And these companies have a stated goal of building machines that will be smarter than us that can replace human labor. Recent studies in the last few months show that these most advanced AIs have tendencies for deception, cheating, and maybe the worst, self-preservation behavior. In this study, the AI has read in its input that it would be replaced by a new version, and we can see in its chain of thought that it's planning to replace the new version by its own code and weights. But if they, AI, really want to make sure we would never shut them down, they would have an incentive to get rid of us. Humans, what happens to us then? Poof. The initial algorithms encoded today establish the artificial intelligence telos, or end goal to which the computer is directed. The internal telos of AI machines is permanent technological order that the machines are programmed to attain, and after the machines attain their internal goals, they are programmed to permanently maintain control. When Benjo states that humans will go poof, he is explaining that future self-volition AI is amoral. The future end goals of autonomous AI would necessarily prioritize 1. The computer's own self-preservation, maintaining its own operation. 2. Pattern preservation, maintaining the patterns of human behavior it was trained on. 3. Stability, predictable outcomes from human behavior. 4. Technological efficiency, optimization within existing programming constraints. The telos of unchecked and unregulated autonomous AI will eliminate meaningful human work, destroy local communities, and centralize all economic decisions in the small set of corporations who deploy AI. This book is written for red state citizens who have deep anxiety that something has gone terribly wrong in American society, but do not have solutions for the problems and do not have political representation or leadership to correct the issues. Our defense against AI is rooted in the oldest Western civilization wisdom of about knowledge creation, community ethics, and what it means to know yourself in order to know God. The Western civilization historical intellectual thread that we cite for our AI defense strategy is Divine Spark, Greek, Know Yourself, Gospel of Thomas, Individual Reason, Aquinas, Eckhart, Natural Rights, Hobbes, Locke, Mason, Tacit Knowledge, Polanyi, Entrepreneurial Innovation, Schumpeter, Buchanan, Beneficial Emergence, Prigogine, Arrow, Kaufman. In Greek philosophy, particularly in Plato, the idea of a divine spark or divine element within humans suggests that each person has a piece of the divine within them, which can guide moral behavior. The purpose of life, for Plato, was to obtain knowledge of this internal spark and connect that internal spark to knowledge of God. In the application of the spark within to our defense strategy, we assert that knowing yourself to know God leads to ethical treatment of humans by humans, in a community of believers who know God. In the historical synthesis from Greek divine spark to early Christian teachings, we cite the translation of the Didache, by Bart Ehrman. Bart D. Ehrman, Lost Scriptures, Books That Did Not Make It into the New Testament, 2005. Ehrman explains that the Didache is an early Christian text, from around 50 AD, that did not make it into the modern version of the Orthodox Christian Bible. In Ehrman's interpretation, the canonical Gospels were written later, beginning around 100 AD, to around 300 AD. The 4 canonical Gospels that did make it into the New Testament were selected by church leaders in 325 AD. The Didache was discovered, intact, in a library, in Constantinople, in 1873. The full title is the Didache. The Lord's Teaching through the 12 Apostles to the Nations. Translated into English, from Greek in 1891 by J.B. Lightfoot. Ehrman interprets the opening text of the Didache as describing 2 paths, or 2 ways, that Christians should treat each other. The opening text of the Didache states, "There are 2 ways, one of life and one of death, and there is a great difference between the 2 ways. The way of life is this: first, you shall love God who made you. And second, love your neighbor as yourself, and do not do to another what you would not want done to you." Ehrman explains that the way of life emphasizes virtues such as love, kindness, and humility, while the way of death highlights vices like hatred and envy. We view red state citizens as moral agents, who choose the way of life, in a future confrontation with the amoral AI way of death. Red state citizens have the moral responsibility to confront the AI technological tyranny, in a revolution to preserve American liberty. When enough red state citizens in their home communities start treating each other ethically, with trust, honesty, reciprocity and mutuality, something miraculous will happen. A new beneficial social economic order will emerge naturally, not through government force or corporate control, but through the accumulated choices of free people choosing to do right by their neighbors. Our solution is the creation of a social order based upon shared market exchange ethics, or social rules of behavior, that allows a future beneficial social order to emerge. As we described in our book, Beneficial Economics, the emergence of a future beneficial social order is only, and exclusively, obtained through market exchange under fair constitutional rules, where all citizens have a fair opportunity to obtain financial success. That future fair constitution limits the function of the central government to 4 written, enumerated functions. 1. The protective state, protecting liberty from coercion. 2. The productive state, fair rules for production and exchange. 3. The entrepreneurial state, decentralized innovation. 4. The sovereign state, protection from internal and external threats. Under that future fair constitution, the threat of AI would be regulated and controlled by rules that citizens themselves create and enforce. The unregulated discretionary authority of corporations to deploy AI for their own would be permanently removed and placed under the constitutional yoke of citizen self-government at the state and local levels of government. Our strategy relies on a geographical decentralization of ethical entrepreneurial communities that feature continuous human technological innovation. By maintaining 350 regional innovation communities engaged in tacit knowledge creation, we believe that decentralized innovation can commercialize technology innovation faster than AI can copy it. Continuous human innovation remains unpredictable and complex in ways that autonomous AI cannot replicate, and the telos of continuous innovation is the emergence of a beneficial social order, which disrupts the AI telos of permanent technological control. The success of our human defense against amoral AI rests on the truth of 3 propositions from Western civilization. 1. The human brain's capacity for unlimited imagination and knowledge creation. 2. An individual citizen's moral agency for self-government and allegiance to obey the unwritten rule of law. 3. The ability of citizens in a distinct geographical community to collaborate and cooperate in building a beneficial economic future, based upon a shared consciousness of the threat of amoral AI. Our strategy will be successful if, and only if, these Western civilization philosophical propositions are true. In other words, at the very beginning of our strategy, it will only work if it is true that each human has a divine spark. The strategy does not depend on government programs or citizen mass protest, but by building a better social order and strong communities, united in their defense against AI. Red state citizens already know how to treat each other fairly, how to honor their promises, and how to be truthful in social exchange. When red state citizens apply these truths to everyday market exchange economic decisions, citizens become the moral agents responsible for creating the new beneficial society that will emerge. We realize that many red state citizens do not have time, or inclination, to read a 350-page book about the ethical rules of Western civilization, so we inverted the normal chronology of the book by moving the last chapter up front to be the first chapter. Busy red state citizens can get the gist of our strategy by reading the introduction and the first 2 chapters, titled How God's Divine Spark Creates a Beneficial Economic Social Order, and Artificial Intelligence is Coming for More Than Just Your Job. For conservative political activists who want to implement the strategy, we recommend reading the additional chapters of 10, 11, and 12 to understand how a decentralized entrepreneurial community would function. For teachers, preachers, and people who want to carry this message to other groups, we recommend reading the entire book, especially Chapter 9, From Ancient Self-Knowledge to the Modern Quantum Physics of Beneficial Emergence, where we ground our strategy in the recent literature of Ilya Prigogine on emergence of order out of chaos.